Hello and welcome to Pickleball Therapy, the podcast dedicated to your pickleball improvement. I hope you're having a great week. My name is Tony Roy. I am the host of your weekly podcast. Sound may be a little bit different this week. I'm trying something new. I'm like basically, I don't know, like almost have the microphone in my mouth a little bit, but I guess the sound quality will go up. We shall see. If you like the sound quality of this one, let us know. It's a little bit different for me. I'm not used to basically having a microphone in my mouth, but it is only me on the microphone, so I guess that's okay. This week, it's actually gonna be a lot of fun. We're gonna go on a climb together. We're gonna climb. I'm calling it the Mount of Mudita. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, but the pronunciation of the word is less important than the meaning that it has. So we're gonna climb this mount today and explore different progressions of our, you want to call it pickleball enlightenment. I'm good with that. We can do that one. So our pickleball enlightenment. As we dive into the podcast, we have our pickleball system course opening for the fall, our September course. If you've been thinking about improving your pickleball, I get asked all the time, what's the best thing to do? Camp, lessons, whatever. YouTube, stuff like that. It's the pickleball system. There's no thinking about it. There's no debate about it. It's a one-of-a-kind program. And, if you want to find out more about it, we'll have a free training in September. You can get a feel for how we train, and then check out the testimonials of fellow players who've been in it. And they'll tell you how good it is. So anyway, that's coming up soon here. We also have a couple of camps that we've opened up recently. So if you're interested in a pickleball camp, it's a great way to learn as well. It makes it sound like I just said, don't come to camp. Camp is good. It's a more compressed version of the system. That's how we teach our camps. And I would tell you that, if you want a camp that's really going to help you understand pickleball better, this is the camp to come to. So check those out as well at betterpickleball.com. All right, let's dive into this idea. So here's my personal progression as a player and as a thinker about sport has evolved over time, and hopefully it helped you as well if you've been listening for a bit. And if you haven't, you listen for a little bit longer and it'll help you. But I'm thinking about this idea of progressing through different stages of our pickleball, and I'm going to keep using the word enlightenment. I like that idea. And it's really our understanding of those around us, those players that are other than us inside the sport. And I came across this term Mudita recently, which made me think of it as perhaps, at least right now, it's going to be the highest echelon or the highest tier that we can achieve along this climb that we're undertaking. So what we're going to do is we're going to start a little bit simpler on the climb, and then make it we'll keep on going up, and then we'll end up at Mudita at the end. So the progression is like this. A lot of times as pickleball players, and a lot of this is unintentional, guys. It's not like we're out there intentionally thinking this way. But the way we end up engaging with the sport of pickleball is as though we were at the center of the whole thing. In other words, we're the most important thing on the pickleball court. Now, there's a kind of a side branch here that we could explore, but I don't want to spend too much time on this. There is an idea, obviously, that in terms of your experience, you are the primary actor, right, in your own life. So that would make sense for you personally. But in terms of the game of pickleball itself, right, you are clearly not at the center of the game of pickleball. Neither am I. Neither is anybody else. And so the first step along this journey, right, is understanding that there are other actors, our opponents, our partner. If you're playing in a tournament, the referee, the volunteers. There's even, you want to go a little bit deeper on it. You can talk about who made the course that you're playing on, right? That's important. It could be someone at the county. It could be a private facility, whatever. You need those folks. You need the game organizers, right? How are you playing on a Wednesday morning? Who organized that? Was that you or somebody else? So there's a lot of actors in this game that we end up playing on the court called pickleball. And so the first step along the progress is understanding that there are, in fact, other actors out there And what that does is it takes away, or it disarms us from sometimes acting too narcissistically, too selfishly, and making everything about us. I mean, you can imagine a situation where you go to a facility and they have 6 courts, but they're busy. There's a lot of players that want to play and things like that, and we make it all about us, and so it's all about, well, I'm having to wait, and it's inconveniencing me, and it's all like the word I or me is in there too much. Maybe you got to think about that a little bit and progress up to the first level on this mount that we're climbing, which is, again, just understanding that we are not the center of the pickleball universe in terms of pickleball itself and in terms of the overall game. Beyond the other actors, by the way, there's also just the game itself. Like, the game itself has its own existence, if you will, its own thing. And you think about it this way, right? Like, when you play pickleball at your local courts, there's your opponents, your partner, the organizer, the facility, whoever is in charge of the facility or in charge of making the facility, things like that. But beyond that, I mean, there's players playing pickleball in the adjoining state. There's players playing pickleball in other parts of the world. There's going to be players playing pickleball after you and I are no longer around to play pickleball. So the game itself has its own existence, right? And understanding that also is also a way to kind of think, get beyond ourselves, right? Extend our thinking beyond just ourselves. And the story that I like to share here, I probably shared it recently, but I'm going to share it again, is the story of Rafael Nadal, one of the greatest tennis players of all time, brushing his own courts after practice, the clay courts, by himself, by hand. And the reason he does that is because he's not bigger than the game, and it keeps him humble, right? It keeps him connected, grounded, if you will. So level 1 of the mount that we're climbing, the Mount of Mudita, is this understanding that we're not at the center. The next tier, the next level that we can get to along this climb, is the idea of Sonder. So I've talked about it before in a prior podcast, but basically Sonder is the idea that it's the realization that others around you are living their own lives, right? So it's a certain amount of empathy, but it's really just it's more like a respect of others, right? It's the idea that you want to live your life the best you can, and that's perfectly fine, right? That no one's gonna judge you for that, because you have Sonder as well, right? You're entitled to it. But so do they, right? So does your partner. So do your opponent. So does the other players waiting, things like that. And an example here would be like your partner. And maybe this isn't you directly, but you probably witnessed it, where you have, a player misses a shot, even an easy one, and their partner gets all over them, right? Makes them feel less than as a player. Obviously that's not cool. That's not something we should do. But Sonder, I think, helps us really kind of crystallizes that idea. And the idea, again, is that the player who missed the shot, they're entitled to live the life that they're leading the way they're leading it, right? And we are not, we're allowed is, I'm going to probably end up with allowed anyway, but we don't have the authority or the right to negatively impact the life of another human being, the same way that they don't have the ability to, they should not negatively impact our life, right? It's the old do unto others idea. But the beautiful thing about Sonder is, like, do unto others is a fine rule, the golden rule, right? But I would submit the kind of the limitation with do unto others is that the reason you're not doing unto others is because of this rule, right? That, okay, I'm not supposed to do unto you except as you would do unto me. Sonder takes it a little bit further, which is you actually realize that this other person has their own path, their own right to their existence, and the way that they're choosing to experience that existence. Okay, so that's level 2. So level 1 again is we're not the center of the universe. We remove that obstacle to ourselves. And level 2, now we're in Sonder, which is where we're respecting others' ability to lead their lives. Now we get to Mudita. We get to the height of enlightenment, and I guess it's appropriate that it's Hindu word, I believe. But it's mudita is the idea, when you have mudita, it's having feelings of happiness for the success of others. Now we've gone next level, right? And I'm going to tie it into a game in a second, right? The different pieces, but just think about that for a second, right? It's you actually being happy because somebody else succeeded. Your opponents in some cases, right? Or in all cases, if you're in Mudita land, right? If you're up at that higher echelon of awareness and enlightenment. And so when you think about it applied to our game specifically, kind of work through it a little bit. You start from the premise that, and let's use a common example that we use on this podcast, because I think it gives us a nice, a good playground to have this conversation, which is, the game that we're up, 10-8 and we lose 12-10. So the first level would be we come off the court and we tell our partner, if I had played better, we would have won that, right? There, what we're doing is we're making it about ourselves, right? If I had played better, we would have won that. So I guess in that scenario, I am completely in charge of everything that happens in the universe, because all I have to do is just play better and I win. In other words, my opponents have no role to play. My partner has no role. It's just I need to play better and I win. Very self-centered, very narcissistic. And I'm not trying to be critical of anybody if you've thought that recently, but I think if you process it a little bit, you'll understand that first of all, it's not accurate. And second of all, it'll hold you back, right? Because you're assigning yourself way too much power in the universe. So that's the first level. And then the next level would be understanding, not being happy about it, but understanding that the fact that you were able to get to 10-8, good on you, right? You're entitled to play as hard as you can and score points and stuff, right? But that does not preclude your opponents then from also getting to 10, just like you, right? Why are you entitled to 10 and they're not entitled to 10? And then from there, it just became a game to 2, right? To win by 2. Think about it for a second. You were up 10-8. The only way they can beat you 12-10 is first, they need to get to 10 first. They need to get to 10 and tie you. That's the first step. Then someone's going to get to 11 and maybe 12 or keep on going, whatever. But the point is, you got to 10. Why can't they get to 10? What is it about them that doesn't allow them to get to 10? That's a Sonder concept. The realization that others are entitled to walk their paths, just like you're entitled to walk your path. If you can get to 10, why can't they? So that's the second tier. And then the third tier, right, the enlightenment tier, the mudita level, if you will, is, you know what? That's awesome. That's so good that they were able to persevere, right? That they were able to be down 8-10 and just keep fighting, keep battling, not make a silly mistake. Because, if you think it through, if they had missed a return to serve, game over. If they had missed an easy fourth, game over, right? You would have won because that would have been a point for you. So they had to play good well on the return side. And then they had to keep battling until they got to 12. They had 10 first and then 12 ahead of you. So the next stage of, again, enlightenment is not just like acknowledging their right to do so, which is the Sonder concept. It's actually looking across the net and just being happy for your opponents. And I'll tell you guys a quick kind of side story, personal story, where I apply this concept and have been applied it for a little bit now. Think of one of those rallies where there's like a really good hustle by your opponent. And let's think of like a really clear one is where the ball trickles over the net, or it's a really weird shot. Or a lob they go after or something, right? And they just hustle back there or hustle up and they get it, right? And they extend the rally. What I've been doing in those situations in my mind is I'm rooting for them. Now, I want to be absolutely clear. I am not giving them the point. Okay, I'm not like just dumping the ball into the net and going, oh, nice shot, we're gonna hustle. I'm fighting. I'm like, I'm scrapping. I'm scraping. I'm doing the best that I can, just like I would normally. But I will tell you that I've gotten to a place where maybe it's a little Mudita in me now, where I'm actually rooting for them to win that rally because of the work they put in. So maybe try and find those moments, right? Where like, or maybe you're smashing balls at your opponents and they're just digging everything. And maybe there's a part of you that can go, wow, that's so cool. They're working so hard. They're doing such a good job. And part of me wishes that hopes that they prevail in this rally here. Again, I'm not going to give it to them, but I hope they prevail. So anyway, that's Mudita. That's the idea. And, it's going to be difficult if you haven't started climbing this mount yet to go base to Mudita. Think of it like Mount Everest. They have like those base camps and stuff like that. It's similar. First get to the base camp of you're not the center of the universe. Then get to the base camp of they're entitled to whatever they got, they're entitled to their 10. They're entitled to their 12. You don't have to be happy about it at the next base camp. And then if you want to go all the way up into the cloud level and see really what's going on in the valley, you can keep climbing and get to Mudita. So anyway, hope you enjoyed that. I enjoyed this podcast. If you probably heard my voice, really like the way that the concepts fit together. And I don't know, it's a really good concept and hopefully something that you can bring into your game, when you're ready for it. So I hope you enjoyed this week's podcast. As always, if you have a minute to rate and review it, really appreciate you doing that. And if you enjoyed the podcast, please share it with your friends. Remember, if you enjoyed this podcast, reasonable chance they might as well. I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you in the next episode of Pickleball Therapy. Be well.